right, who knew doing something new was going to cause me so much aggro? Right. Welcome back to the channel. I've done like 4 or 5 times I've done this. The time before last, I got 17 minutes in and my computer absolutely just had a meltdown. This is an advertisement for me getting a new computer very clearly. It's old now. It's like 5-6 years old, and it's just really struggling. So I think I might just have to get a new computer and shell out that cash, unfortunately. Right, anyway, doing something a bit different today. I've been away working quite a lot. 9 on, 5 off for the last couple of months, so I've not really made a lot of videos, which is obviously a bit annoying because I'm really passionate about this. But I wanted to try something different today and basically just discuss this exclusive interview on Good Morning Britain where Susanna interviews the Prime Minister. Because that's probably what the title should have been instead of exclusive. Susanna interviews the Prime Minister. It's not very clear. Anyway, maybe that's just my weird brain. We're going to get going. This is actually 34 seconds in, so I'm going to have to start it again. Here we go.
I don't want to take the wind out of your sails, Prime Minister, but why do you think you're so unpopular?
I think that for 14 years under the last government, people really suffered. Their wages didn't go up materially. They didn't feel better off. Their public services were decimated. We won a victory.
I see, so we are blaming the last government despite the fact that you have no plan and had no plan and probably will never have a plan for actual sustained economic betterment of the working, the middle and the lower classes in this country. Kaboosh.
Victory last July, a landslide victory, on the basis that we would change, renew and take our country forward. I always said that would take time.
Susanna goes, She's like, you're talking shit, mate.
But I sense and understand the frustration from people who say, get on with it, bring the change around more quickly, because they've lived...
No, we're not saying bring the change around more quickly per se. We're angry because you had no plan and you won't bring in the measures necessary to solve the problem that we are in. There are very clear ideas. There's 2 very clear ideas. One is absolute decimate immigration in this country. Immigration grew this country, and we should be supporting those that want to come here legally. To build a better life for themselves and build our country up with it. There's a second argument, which is the one that I believe, which is that the very wealthy have been tearing this country apart through media, newspapers, channels and think tanks, and they've been getting more and more and more and more wealth from this country while the GDP goes up. But working people's lives and middle class people's lives and those on benefits and the lower classes people's lives get worse and worse and worse. How can we be getting richer? How can we be getting richer and richer and richer if everyone barring the 0.1 and the 1% are actually getting worse off financially each year? Explain that to me, Prime Minister, please.
Through 14 years of that failure.
Yeah,
I never said we could do it in 12 months, and I don't say it now. It's not the right thing to do. But we won a mandate for 5 years to change this country. I know the change we need to bring about. I think the 3 things that I'll be judged on the next election, above all else, are living standards. Do I feel better off?
Yep.
So far, people feel worse off, so great job there. Great job.
Public services, is the health service better? And
waiting lists are going down a bit, actually, which I noticed, which I think is a really positive thing, but I think that is unsustainable. I think how you're doing it is wrong. We need more nurses, more doctors, more people that can actually heal our people in this country, as opposed to simply just working overtime and overtime and overtime until we hope for the problem goes away. That's not sustainable, and we'll end up in the same situation. Oh my god, it's not done it again. We'll end up in the same situation that we were in before. It's still going okay. Yeah, we'll end up we're not doing it properly. We need more people trained. It's not. This is a matter of training, right? And we don't train enough nurses or doctors in this country, and we're going to end up in the same position in 3 or 4 years down the line. Mark my words.
Do I feel safe and secure
Brilliant.
in my
Let's start
neighbourhood?
with the first one.
Not enough police. The police and the prison service standards are dropping, and therefore we're getting worse and worse quality people, and those people that want to challenge themselves aren't willing to do the police or the prison service because it's not a challenge anymore. They want people to be proud of what they do. We want people that want to take on that challenge of that training being hard. That's why people join the army. That's why people join the Navy, the Air Force, the Royal Marine Commandos. I'm not saying we need to make it as hard as that, but it needs to be difficult. We need someone to say, I'm a police officer, and you need to think, bloody hell, they're rock solid, because that training's tough. Right? That's what we need people to think. Right? People will do things because they are hard, and those are the people that you want in those positions. People that will take on challenges, that will help people, that will support people, that will, quite frankly, challenge the worst people in our society that make our society worse. That's my little tidbit on the police and the prison service there for you. Here we go again.
Be judged against.
Yeah, you asked voters to judge you on whether they're going to feel better off.
Yes.
Already, many are not feeling better off.
Preach, Susanna. Preach, my love.
The cost of living crisis is biting, and I want to introduce you to a voter. Her name is Rhonda, and she's from Watford. And we've been in touch with her. She's a single mum, child at a secondary school. She's in paid work. For the first time ever, she voted at the last election. She voted for you because you promised change.
Can I just say, Rhonda, you should probably exercise your right to vote more often, because it's God-given democratic right in this country, but glad you voted for the first time. I hope you carry on.
Since then, her grocery bills have gone up, her rent's gone up, she's in arrears, her council tax has gone up, her energy bills have gone up, she's in arrears on her...
You know what? She's like, that's a situation for a lot of people in this country. Like, I'm very grateful that I earn good money and I do a lot of overtime for my good money. And you know, I live with my partner and she's trained to be a teacher, but her parents are relatively well off and they're able to support us with our rent before she becomes a teacher full time, which I obviously massively appreciate. But this is a situation we're in this country where, honestly, if it was just me in this house supporting my partner while she's doing her degree, and her parents weren't able to support us, and let's say I'm earning 10 grand a year less or whatever than I am now, wow, I'd be there like, I don't know how to feed us. And we don't have children, you know. We don't have other issues to deal with, but I'd have no money. I'd be in a situation where it'd be like, I want to go out with my friends, like, sorry guys, we're gonna have to go for a walk or something because I am skint. Like, there's no going to the pub for me. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, I don't go out a lot. I go out maybe every couple of weeks or whatever with my friends, and we have a really lovely time. We plan stuff that, you know, inevitably doesn't happen. But you know, like, how are people that are just scraping the bottom of the barrel in this country even surviving? Because the bottom of the barrel is far below the poverty line, and a lot of people are there. Let's carry on. I think I might have to do this in 2 halves just to make sure that I actually have half of it. Okay.
Energy bills. She says she's not going to vote Labour again. She's at a fork in the road. She's considering voting Reform or Lib Dems or Greens. What do you say to...
Let's be realistic. Voting the Lib Dems is more of the same. Like, there's no real reason to believe that they would do anything different to what Labour or the Conservatives have been doing. More of the sensible politics. Reform are going down this very terrible ethno-nationalist route, and I've been honest before, I voted Reform in the last election. I was down that rabbit hole, but the house of cards has fallen, man. Right, when people are in desperate poverty, they look for the next available option, and they get very hateful, and they get very disgusted in other people getting something, and that is what the Reform are preying on. They're preying on people's lives being difficult, and they're trying to sell them a solution that is deeply envious, and it's not right. It's not right at all. It won't help. It'll make it, like, we'll go from stopping the boats to stopping normal migration to removing people that are already migrated to this country, and then they may well start going down this nationalist route, and I think that's very, very scary, if I'm being real honest with you. Right, I'm going to pause it here, and then I'm going to start again. It'll be like a split second before I start again for you guys.
Voting Reform or Lib Dems or Greens? What do you say to Rhonda?
Well, I say to Rhonda that I absolutely understand the pressures that are bearing down on her, and I'm determined to change that.
How's that going to make her feel?
With what plan? What plan are you going to change that? Because your plan appears to be have no plan and just go on with what's happening at the time. Like, your plan at the moment is just cowtailing to reform and just toughening up on immigration policies that you will never beat them at, because they will always go further than you. Right? So why are we even entertaining their policy?
Feel better.
Just hear me out. On food.
Prime Minister, I've heard you out long enough.
Bills, for example, we worked really hard to get an agreement with the EU that will mean that food bills will go down, because it will be much easier to transport those over borders. Every supermarket welcomed that deal because they knew that bills will go down.
Food inflation is way above inflation.
That is why,
and inflation is almost twice your target rate.
That's why we're taking the measures to bring those bills down, which
People
is
like
what
Rhonda,
the agreement
she's in
with the
arrears.
EU.
She can't wait for
I
these things to
that.
happen. She voted for change, and she hasn't got
energy
it.
Bills, obviously, we have got a scheme in place to bring bills down for millions of families, not everybody, I accept, and we will do other measures to bring those bills.
Right, do you know how you solve issues for working families? You reduce wealth inequality. You make sure the pound goes further in the working man or woman's pocket. That's what you do, right? You can't make these little schemes and that which make you go into more and more and more debt. There is a wealth of money in this country. The GDP in this country has gone up and up and up and up, and the working man and woman's money has gone down and down and down and down. Where has that money gone, Prime Minister? I will tell you. I will educate you on this matter. The wealthiest 1% to 0.1% in this country has grown its wealth to vast, vast amounts over the last decades, and they have built an absolute disgusting amount of wealth in this country through controlling the masses' thoughts and ensuring that they have every little bit of your eardrums listening to what they have to say, and not what the normal working man has to say, or woman for that matter. Right? You will only do things that have cursory effects on the working people of this country, while doing everything in your power to keep the wealthy wealthy and the poor poor. Because they both come in together. If you want the wealthy to stay wealthy, incredibly wealthy that is, I don't mind rich people, I do mind those billionaires that earn £1 million a week, literally a week, if they're earning 5% on their income a year. That's what I'm bothered about. And if you do that, you keep them wealthy, the poor inevitably get poorer. And we know that for a fact.
Now,
energy bills have gone up, Prime Minister.
I appreciate that, and our job is to bring them.
I can confirm energy bills have gone up because, wow, I have been working all summer to get myself in a position where I might not end up hundreds of pounds, only a couple of £100 probably, in the red over winter. Because and I couldn't and I can suffer in the cold. Do you know what I mean? Imagine an old person, an old woman, or an old man like suffering on their own in winter, trying to figure this out. Like, they should be able to have the heating on. They should be able to stay warm and not have to worry. They should be getting enough money that they can stay warm at least and eat over winter, man. It's not hard. We live in the 21st century. There's one way to fix this. It's to ensure that they're getting enough money, and the good way of doing it, raise capital gains tax, raise corporation tax, raise a new wealth tax, change the absolutely god-awful council tax system in this country, which is just impoverishing normal working people.
Down,
but saying that you're going to bring them down when you've had 14 months in government and her bills...
Exactly, Susanna. There's no plan, is there? There's clearly no real actual plan. Otherwise, they'd have a plan. They would have had a plan. They should have had a plan. You can say that the Tories were in 14 years and did a lot of damage. You had 14 years to make a plan, and there's no plan.
All gone up, and she can't afford to pay them. Unfortunately, people like Rhonda are not going to vote for you again. You've said that...
But just hear me out on one or two things, because I think you said Rhonda's children at secondary school,
yes.
So this may not apply directly to her. But a week ago Monday, we introduced free childcare for children between 9 months and 4 years.
Let me just say, the free childcare thing, I think that's a good policy, right? I think that's a good quality policy. You know, it works. It's good, right? But hear me out now. If it was only a couple of decades ago, 2-3 decades ago, right? Maybe 4 decades ago, that you could very comfortably live on a single income in a household in this country, right? There was a time where on my income, definitely my income, you would have been able to raise a family, support your partner, save a little bit, go on holiday once a year, have a car, maybe 2 cars, one for your partner as well, right? And have a mortgage, and raise the capital to be able to buy a mortgage, right? We don't have that anymore in this country. If I was getting paid, I don't know how many times I have to say this, if I was getting paid 10 grand a year now, and I had to support just me and my partner, and we had no additional income, I would be scraping the bottom of the barrel every single month. I wouldn't be doing anything for myself, right? I won't be able to do this because I won't be able to afford this microphone, right? This is absolutely, like, they just don't understand the levels of poverty in this country, and I'm well off, like, not well off, but I make a good wage for my age. I'm 24. I make a good wage for my age. Don't want to go on into it. I make a very good wage, and I do a lot of overtime, and I make more money on top of that wage, right? To prepare myself for the inevitable, absolute ruining of our status in this whole country, because I need to make sure that I stay above the breadline, right? A lot of people are already below the breadline. Why are the government, the Labour Party, the party that's supposed to support working people, choosing to kowtow to their rich donors instead of their union support, instead of their working man and woman support? They're kowtowing to the rich because they know the rich have the power to take them out of office, when in reality, if they did everything they could to support the working man, we'd rise up and we'd ensure that they stayed in power. We'd be able to see that they could stay in power. But they're choosing not to do anything about it.
That is thousands of pounds saved for parents and
talking about a specific
free school meals, which will make...
What are you going to do for Rhonda? So as soon as your kids are over 4, you're back to the... You can get absolutely rinsed then? Is that what we're saying, Prime Minister? If you've got kids under 4, then, you know, we'll support you. But if you've got kids over 4, then you best sort it out yourself. Because I'm pretty sure a 5-year-old can't make his breakfast. A 5-year-old can't take himself to school. A 5-year-old can't be trusted to be alone. Right? In fact, they won't be able to be trusted to be alone for at the minimum half a decade. So you have to suffer for half a decade. Thank you, Prime Minister. I'm glad we're on the same page about your absolute waste of spaceness.
A big difference.
Unfortunately.
But I'm just pushing back on the idea that nothing is being done to deal with the cost of living crisis. I know how it's bearing down on people.
There's one clear thing to deal with the cost of living crisis. The cost of living crisis is caused by rising wealth inequality in this country. And if we don't tackle the root cause, we're going to continue to suffer. If I've got crazy heart problems, if I've got a heart that can't get me a couple of steps down the road, right, and the doctor says, oh, well, your lungs are alright, your spleen's alright, your stomach's looking good, your kidneys are actually pretty good, you've got brilliant skin, so we probably don't need to deal with the heart. 1 minute. What do you mean? My heart's dying. I'm going to have a triple bypass by the time I'm 35. Right? A doctor wouldn't say that to you because a doctor's not... They'd be like, right, yeah, we've got to deal with this heart problem. Right? You can't deal with all these little issues in society without dealing with the root problem, the root economical problem, which is rising wealth inequality in this country.
We're moving as fast as we can on this. But
I didn't say nothing's been done. I said that people will judge you on whether they feel better off, and Rhonda is worse off. She's considering voting reform. You've described one of reform's policies as racist. So how should Rhonda feel about wanting to potentially vote reform?
Well, I think that the divide at the next election will be between Labour and Reform, right. And that means it will be between...
And that's why they were horrible to Zach Polanski when he became the leader of the Greens, because they know there is an actual challenger on the left that will actually challenge for left-wing policies, while the Labour Party cowtail this centrist movement.
In patriotic national renewal, where we fix our problems and take our country forward, and where I, as Prime Minister, want to serve the whole of our country, our beautiful,
Right, bear with me. I'm just going to pause this. I'll be back again in a second. I'm just making sure that it doesn't all mess up again. Back. Let's just...
As Prime Minister, want to serve the whole of our country, our beautiful, tolerant, diverse country, or reform which will divide our country.
You say that our country is a beautiful, tolerant, diverse country, right? But the problem is, when you can see economically, when people are in desperate poverty and they're not able to support themselves, they look to the immigrant, they look to the person that they perceive as getting something from this country, and they hate them. And it doesn't mean that every poor person's poor. It doesn't mean that every rich person's a saint. Sorry, it doesn't mean that every poor person's racist or every rich person's a saint. It's natural. When people aren't getting what they're supposed to get from the state and they're not living economically well off, then they're going to look to the person next door that they think looks different to them. That's how this world has always worked. But everyone, regardless of your skin colour, regardless of your ethnicity, should be given the same opportunities in this country, and we should be ensuring that everyone, regardless of like what parts are between their legs or what skin colour they have or how they feel in their brain, should be given an opportunity in this country. And part of that is ensuring wealth inequality does not continue to skyrocket like it has been. I believe that economics is the cause of most of our ails in this country. Because when people feel worse off, they challenge the narrative, and we're starting to go down a terrible road in this country. It's a shame that when I drive down the street and I see the St. George's Cross, that I see it and I think, oh God, someone's put that up on and the context behind why they've put that up is basically ethno-nationalism. Or they don't understand that that's kind of what is going on. Maybe they're putting up for the right reasons, but they haven't recognised that what they're supporting is basically wanting ethno-nationalism, right? Like that. It's a shame because I love the St. George's Cross. I love the Union flag. I love it, I feel pride in my country when I see it. But because we're going down this dark road, I look at it sometimes and I think, oh no. This is people basically saying immigrants ain't welcome. Because that's what it's saying. That is what it's saying. That's the truth. It's a shame. Right, anyway, I crashed out a bit there, but yeah, let's go again.
Country, toxic division, and reform who doesn't want to fix the problems because they are feeding off grievance. The last thing they actually want is for the country to improve.
That is the truth. But Labour's not doing the things that will improve the country. Labour's choosing not to do the things that will improve working people's lives in this country. They're choosing not to, right? Because they want to kowtow to their rich donors. Reform are using grievance politics to make you hate your neighbour. That is true. But they're not doing anything to fight against that.
Because their politics has no reason to exist. It's a fundamental choice about who we are as a country. It's actually bigger than the Labour Party.
Do you accuse people who are considering voting reform of being racist?
No, not in the slightest.
But if they're voting for...
No, if you're voting for reform, you're not necessarily racist. Now, you have to separate the proletariat to the leaders of the organisation. Tommy Robinson is a racist. He makes things up. He's a liar, right? And people believe him because he says it with chest. He says it, and people believe it because he's been saying it for so long, and he's breaking through. Right? We know this. We know this. But again, Labour's doing nothing to improve the lives of working people meaningfully. They're doing nothing to do it. So how can we expect people to not see the next thing and think maybe we'll give that a go? It doesn't make them racist. It just makes them human. And we need to provide them another option. And Labour's choosing not to do it. If you went to most Reform voters and you said, do you think the rich probably have too much money and we should do something about if we could take a little bit of money off them and help the working people of this country, should we do it? They'd say yes, but Reform will never do that because they are a party of the rich, by the rich, for the rich. And they're preying on your problems in society.
For a party which has racist policies, what does that make them as voters in your view?
Many people are thinking of voting for reform, want to make sure we've secured our borders, quite right to. Want to make sure that we are deporting those who are illegally here, quite right to. We've deported 35,000 since we've been in government. That's the biggest number for nearly 10 years. And many will be frustrated.
Labour going on about how many people they've deported. How about you tell us how many rich people you've relieved of just 2% of the wealth they've earned that year so that you can fund hospitals properly? Oh no, you can't do that because you've not done it. Right? How about discuss how you're turning the tide and you're making the tax curve more appropriate and more reasonable so that working people, a cleaner, let's say, isn't paying a higher tax rate than their billionaire employer? Right? How about we do something about that? How about we say we're changing the council tax system so that we have a land value tax so that people who own more land in a constituency pay more for that land than the normal person who owns a house or rents a house? Right? Come on.
That they need to see change in their country. That is fundamentally different to Nigel Farage saying he wants to deport migrants who are lawfully here, who've been here for years, working in our schools, in our hospitals, running businesses, who are our neighbours.
That's the racist policy in your view.
That will tear our country apart. It goes to the heart of who we are as a country. We are a diverse country. We've had people coming from different countries for many years. They are part of who we are.
Okay.
And what he says about deporting people who are lawfully here, not illegally here, lawfully here,
that's the policy you consider racist.
Shudder through the spines of many, many people across this country.
I want to talk to you about the £22 billion black hole last year. You were going to ask pensioners to help fill that gap with the taking away of the winter fuel allowance. This time last year I asked you to apologise to pensioners who felt that they would be worse off. In fact, you ended up U-turning on that. Now we've got...
No, we're discussing U-turns again. I hate the discussion of U-turns, right? Because it actually infuriates me. Like, yes, don't bring the policy in the first place, right? But then people will moan and argue and kick off about the fact that someone's trying to bring in a policy, and they'll absolutely go apeshit at them. And then they'll swing it around, they'll listen, and they'll say, right, actually, yeah, this wasn't the right decision. People are very unhappy, we shouldn't do this. And then people will moan that they're U-turning and that they're not going to do it. So that the same people who've just moaned that they're doing it are moaning that they're not doing it now. Like, because they've switched around, they're saying, oh, they look weak. Like, no, listening to the people is like a good thing. I mean, it's a shame that they didn't go further down the line, and instead of punishing pensioners, maybe they just took a bit of extra money from the rich each year. But, you know, who am I to say that?
£30 billion black hole. You promised you would stabilise the economy. The black hole's massive. Who's going to pay this time? Are you going to stick to your man?
I'm gonna give an option. We raise capital gains tax. We raise corporation tax. We raise a wealth tax on the super wealthy. I don't know how many times I have to say it. We do that, and then you know what we then succeed in? We begin to lower the national debt, and then we bring in more money that we're currently spending on interest payments. We support our police services, our hospitals. We're able to maybe even sustain a rising of the living wage. We're able to invest in green technologies and other investment opportunities to build a national wealth fund, so in a few decades to come we don't have to solely rely on taxable income to be able to fund infrastructure in this country. Maybe that's just an option, but you know, again, who am I? I'm just some dude on YouTube, just some dude, you know, working hard for his country, you know, doing a very difficult job and wanting to sustain a family in the future. You know, who am I? I'm just a working class voter. You know, I'm not important.
Manifesto commitment not to increase tax, national insurance, and VAT on working people.
The manifesto stands, and since we've been in power.
Up until and including the budget?
But of course we stand by the manifesto.
So you won't increase national insurance or income tax or VAT on working people?
I'm okay with like the top level of income tax. In fact, I think probably the 45% bracket is probably okay, you know? But I think there should be another bracket. Another bracket which maybe is at 50, 55, 60% for people earning like crazy money. Like someone that's making like 500 grand a year. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like super execs. Like I'm okay with that, but I don't think that solves the problem. We're talking about people that make their money from capital gains tax, corporation tax. That's what we should be doing. And the people that maybe going to be in the comments saying, "Oh, Amazon would leave the country." Like Amazon would leave the sixth largest economy in the world on the basis of rising corporation tax when they make billions and billions. So let's assume, let's make up a number. Let's say Amazon make, let's say, £25 billion a year in the UK, and we raise their taxes so that they make a profit of £20 billion a year. Let's assume that, I don't know what percentage that would be, but let's assume that that's what we do, right? You think they'd leave? Come on, have me on. Right? Would I leave? No. I'd be pissed off. I'd be like, that's fucking annoying. Do you know what I mean? But I wouldn't leave because I'd be like, I'm making $20 billion a year out of that arrangement. Do you know what I mean? Who would do? Who come on. Right, here we go again.
Stand by the manifesto, and let me just gently push back. We've got the highest growth in the G7 in the first 6 months of this year.
Yeah, here we go again. The highest growth in the G7 are slowly dwindling down economies because, right? And anyway, right. Second to that point, right? Again, right? Where's this growth going? Because I know it's not coming to me or my friends or my family. I know it's not coming to me or my friends or my family. I guarantee you, most of that growth is going to the super wealthy. So if we're getting all that growth, the super wealthy who are paying probably a lower tax rate than their cleaners. Shouldn't we be raising the taxes on those people because they're getting all the growth that's apparently coming into this country and we're not actually able to tax it appropriately? Like, shouldn't we do something about that? Maybe, Prime Minister. I'm just going to pause it and then start again. Just because I can't be dealing with another time this going wrong again. I'll be back in a second.
We've got the highest investment into this country ever.
That's good. Granted, that's good. I can't lie. That's really good.
First 12 months of the Labour government. We've got £150 billion from the US in the state visit deal that we got 2 weeks ago.
Who's going to...
That £150 billion is just going to go to the super wealthy of America and or the UK. It's a tech thing. It's not going to be taxed appropriately in this country, so it's not actually going to come back to the working man of this country.
That is unprecedented.
£30 billion
and we've
black
created
hole.
Thousands of jobs.
Who's going to fill
and
the £30 billion?
interest rates have come down 4 times in a row. Anybody watching this with a mortgage knows how important that is.
Yeah, but that's in the gift of the Bank of England. Who's going to fill the...
Yes, anyone with a mortgage, having the interest rate rates going down is a good thing, right? What about those people that the housing prices are actually going up and up and up and up, right? What about those people that don't have a mortgage yet, that can't get on the property ladder? It's not going to be no one with a mortgage anymore once everyone's paid theirs off now, because no one will be able to afford to get one.
The conditions are created by the government, but so we have stabilised the economy. I'm not going to now say what may or may not be in the budget. No Prime Minister or Chancellor ever does that ahead of the budget. That's not peculiar to me. You know that. That has never been the case. In fact, at this stage, 2 months out, we haven't even got the primary numbers from the OBR yet, so no decisions have been made.
Oh, cowtailing to the OBR. Again. This is the thing. If you brought in wealth tax in this country, the OBR would say that, oh, growth will go down. But growth will not go down. I'll tell you that for a fact. Growth will go up. The working man will have more money. The working woman will have more money. The working families in this country will have more money to be able, and not to mention that the healthcare service will go up. The national debt would go down. Within a year's time of bringing that in, and you actually say that, look, we've stabilised the economy, the OBR forecast would fly. Initially, it would say it would go down because of the lies in this country, the think tanks in this country that are funded by the super wealthy, saying that if you tax the super wealthy more, we'll leave or we'll go. They won't. In America, in Los Angeles, they basically massively increased the taxes of the super wealthy, and very few super wealthy people actually left, and they actually made more money in that country than in that state in America than they would have otherwise, right? And they reduced wealth inequality in that state, right? That's in America. It's a lot easier to move from Los Angeles to Texas than it is from the UK to Zimbabwe, right? That's just the truth, and we know that. You can see that. It's obvious.
Right.
We know that growth is down, and you're not going to institute
growth is not down. The G7 numbers show that the UK is the highest growth in the G7 in the first 6 months of this year. So it is fundamentally up. That's the whole point.
The growth figure out today was down. GDP figure was down.
The measure for the first 6 months of this year shows that we had the fastest growing economy in the G7. Now, obviously, there's more to do.
I can't wait for when the next ones come down and we're not at the top. I just don't know what they're going to say anymore. I don't know what they will say. Because this is the line that they all say all the time, all the Labour politicians. And it's like, well, what are you going to say when we're not the top?
We've got to go further. We've got to go faster. We've got record investment into this.
Yes, we've got to go further. We've got to go faster. We've got to raise taxes on the super rich to reduce wealth inequality in this country, Prime Minister.
Country. We said we'd do 2 million extra appointments on the NHS in the first year of a Labour government. We've done 5 million.
Yeah, 5 million.
Okay. 5 million. No, but for many people watching this who've been waiting for an operation, that makes a material difference to their lives.
Just
and that's
finally,
why I'm in politics.
Again, that is true, and that is one of the good things that they've done. I don't think they're doing it the right way. I don't think it's sustainable, but that is something that they've genuinely done. That's a actual positive thing.
To make a material difference for the better.
So you don't wake up in the middle of the night thinking, I've done all of these incredible things, but still I'm the least popular Prime Minister in history.
I
imagine being less popular than Liz Truss. That is god-awful.
Wake up thinking I won a mandate as leader of my party, a landslide victory in July of last year.
Do you think it'd be funny to just like Keir Starmer to whack a GoPro on for a day, just like watch his day? Like, so gets up, brushes his teeth, said to the lady, says, look, I'm going to go out, I'll see you later, I'll be at work all day, I'm sorry, I've got this Prime Minister thing I've got to do, I'll be downstairs though, because the flat's above it, but yeah, just so you know, I'm going to be out all day, I don't think I'm going to be back, can you put my tea in the microwave, please? Or, can you put my tea in the microwave, please? I'll be back when I'm back. I don't know what it'll be. I'll probably be in a mood because people will be telling me all day that I'm shit. But yeah, please put my dinner in the microwave and I'll see you in bed tonight.
Yeah, to change this country for the better. And it's a 5-year mandate, and I'll be judged at the end of my mandate.
You ain't going to make it 5 years, Prime Minister. I just want you to be aware. Bringing Andy Burnham, like what he's done for Manchester, I think he'd probably be a good option to see, what he would do. I worry that, he was a Blairite under Blair, he was a Brownite under Brown, he was a Corbynite under Corbyn. He's actually standing up to Keir Starmer now, so maybe he has changed his ways, but I can imagine he would just be doing more of the same, if I'm honest. But bring him in. give him a run out for a few years and see if he does anything decent.
I would also just gently point out.
Why can't you persuade the voters?
Hear me out. When I took over as leader of the Labour Party, everybody said to me, "You'll never change the Labour Party." We did. Then they said to me, "You'll never win."
You'll never change the Labour Party. Yes, you won't. You won't, Prime Minister. You'll never change us from a Labour supporting, working class supporting party that wants to provide proper support to the masses. I did change them. I did. I made sure that we just support the super rich in this country, and I think that's important that we just support the super rich and we don't do anything for working people.
An election. We did. Now they want to say to me, "You're not going to be able to change the country."
Mate, you are doing nothing to do it, so I don't know what. If you're doing nothing to change the country, right? How can you expect to change it? There's one very clear way to change this country, and it's to raise taxes on the rich and ensure money flows to the working middle and lower classes of this country, and that we're able to build our infrastructure, and that we're able to get to a point where our country can survive on its own again, without wealthy donors risking everything for the newspapers to say what the reform want. There's a system that we can change in this country, and we need to smash the wheel. We need to ensure that wealthy people pay their fair share of tax in this country, because if they don't, our country will fall into desperate poverty. Just go to Colombia or Zimbabwe or the Gulf states. You will see countries that have massive wealth, but they're working on their middle classes and their lower classes have absolutely nothing. Go to those countries, Prime Minister. This is what you're bringing in.
I don't accept that. I'll be judged in 5 years' time by the good work that this government has done.
I look forward to seeing you next year, Prime Minister. Thanks very much.
Look forward to it.
Right, okay. I don't think she's going to see him next year. I think he's probably going to be out of office by next year. But this is a different kind of video that I've done before. I hope you liked it. That I'm not going to do any editing or anything. I'm just going to throw it up and see if it gets any traction. I really appreciate you. If you got all the way through like my ramblings, then you've got to be a supporter. Do you know what I mean? But I'd really appreciate any likes, positive criticism in the comments would be amazing. I know my mic isn't the best, but it's going to be the one that I've got for a while now because I don't have the most money in the world to be buying expensive mics and stuff. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it again. Have a lovely day, and I hope we can get through this, this economical disaster that we live in together. With some positivity and some growth. Vote the Greens, baby. Vote the Greens. Big up Zach Polanski, my guy.